What's up, glitches? The first story in today's video is called Catherine the Ghost Clown. I do not like clowns, so I am not looking forward to this one. And then we have 9 more weird, unexplainable stories sent in by fans. So sit back, grab a snack, and let's get weird. This one is called Catherine the Ghost Clown, and oh my god, there's immediately pictures of this weird looking clown painting, but not like a clown. It looks like kind of like a sad, clownish person. We're gonna read the story and then I'll show you. Hi, Auntie. Hi. Watching your videos and hearing other people's stories has encouraged me to share mine. I have very vivid memories of my early childhood up until about the age of 9 when I went through some trauma and seemed to have blocked a few years out. It is quite long and I just hope I was able to make it make sense. My great uncle was a huge part of the first few years of my life. He was very prim and proper, always wore an old newspaper boy style hat and dressed very nicely. He was also hilarious and an amazing cook. He taught me manners and kindness. His lessons have stuck with me my entire life. He lived in a very old house built in 1926. The house was built by the previous owner for his wife, and the couple eventually died in the house. To give a little insight to the environment, my uncle had a collection of porcelain clown dolls. Nope. Immediately no. Yes, I was terrified of them, as well you should be. Vintage French-style clown paintings, those are probably the pictures that I was just talking about, and was open to having a ghost that lived in the empty upstairs bedroom. The ghost's name was Catherine, and she was usually quiet, but curious. We believe that she was the wife that died in the house. Her bedroom faced the backyard, and it wasn't unusual to be in the swimming pool and look up and see the curtain pushed to the side as if someone was peeking out at us. Her room was also used as the guest bedroom, and anyone that spent the night there, my mom included, would see the rocking chair in the corner slowly rocking in the middle of the night when it was clearly empty and no fans were on. Catherine would occasionally turn lights off and on, and it was common to find random books open around the house. So the ghost was an avid reader then. I was almost 4 years old when my uncle passed. He passed the day after my brother was born. He left the house to my grandma, and she was terrified of the house and Catherine, so she immediately got to work on selling it. The family had to go through his belongings, he did not have children of his own, and sorted through what to keep and what he would have wanted his dear friends to have. At the time, my mom, baby brother, and I lived with my great-grandmother, which was my uncle's sister. She decided she wanted to keep most of his clown collection since he treasured it so much. Why? The very last time I was ever in that house, I was wandering around upstairs alone, just me and my stuffed bunny, and I opened the door to Catherine's room, just a few inches, only for it to immediately slam in my face. Of course, as a 4-year-old, that was scary, and I just had to go tell my mom. I turned to go up the stairs right across from Catherine's room, and I heard the door creak open. When I looked back, I saw long fingers wrapped around the edge of the door, slowly opening it. I immediately noped out of there and started running down the stairs, and I could hear very fast footsteps coming towards me. Time seemed to slow down as I looked back, and I saw Catherine running down the stairs at me on all 4s, but she looked very angry and was moving very fast, using her feet to turn the corner of the stairs. Imagine the old lady scene from the movie Legion. I never saw that, so I don't know what that is, but it sounds really scary. I made it about halfway down the stairs before I dropped my beloved bunny. I turned around to grab it, but Catherine was already crouched down, holding it with her extremely long fingers in one hand, and used her other hand to wag her finger at me in a tisk manner. I didn't look back as I ran down the rest of the stairs, and I found my great-grandmother, and I told her what happened. Of course, she didn't believe me and simply said, "No more scary movies before bed." Finally, I found my grandma and told her what had just happened, and she explained that Catherine must have been upset that I didn't knock on her door before trying to enter, and that I would have to go apologize to her if I wanted my bunny back. But this was something I had to do on my own. I waited until my heart stopped hammering out of my chest before slowly making my way back upstairs. As I got to the halfway point where I dropped my bunny, it wasn't there. I tiptoed up the rest of the stairs and I crept over to Catherine's door, trying to be as quiet as I possibly could. I took a deep breath and I knocked 3 times on the door before saying, "Catherine, I'm sorry I forgot to knock, but I did it this time. Please give my bunny back." I waited a few seconds, terrified of what came next, but all I heard was the click of the door unlocking. I took that as a sign that I could come in, so I slowly opened the door. As I walked inside the room and spotted my bunny in the rocking chair, slowly rocking back and forth, I ran straight to my bunny, grabbed her, and turned to run back out of the room. As I turned to close the door, I saw Catherine sitting in the rocking chair, holding a doll, brushing its hair with a very antique-looking brush. She was no longer angry, nor did she have long fingers. She looked directly at me and smiled. I decided that was enough and quietly closed her door and went back downstairs. I told my grandma I got my bunny back, and she said, "Good job, she must have forgiven you." I remember us pulling out of the driveway and I could see Catherine looking down at us from the window above the stairs. As we got home to my great-grandmother's house and began unpacking, we discovered an old painting of a lady clown. I was immediately terrified of it and tried telling everyone it looked exactly like Catherine, but they just laughed it off. My great-grandmother decided to hang the painting in my room since the lady was very pretty and it was like painted in light colors. Every night, I would take the painting down and hide it in my closet because I couldn't sleep with her looking at me. Every morning, I would wake up and the painting was back in its place on the wall. Again, no one believed me about this. Eventually, my mom, brother, and I moved out of the house on our own and I left the painting behind. I'm 26 now and ever so often I will have an image in my head of that damn painting and then I remember Catherine and everything that happened and it gives me a very intense anxiety attack every single time. I've done my best to find a picture of the painting online, but I cannot find the exact one. I will attach the ones I found that are similar. Please know that the Catherine that I saw was also wearing the same old-timey clown costume, including the tight cap on her head, but she had some golden blonde hair sticking out in the front. I've always wondered if this was a memory or just a nightmare from my childhood that just stuck with me. I would love to hear your thoughts. I know you hate clowns, and I'm sorry, but I just had to share. Thank you for always being all of us glitches safe space. You are a light in this dark world. Love you, Auntie. Love you too. Well, thank you for remembering that I don't like clowns, but no thank you for sending this story in because it's really scary. I just want to say I believe you. We believe you. I do not think that was a nightmare. I think that actually happened. I 100% believe you. I think it's interesting that her fingers were like long and skinny and creepy looking when she was mad, but when she was not mad, she was like a little more normal, just hanging out. Does anyone else remember this occurrence is my question. Obviously no one else saw it, but people heard you talking about it and they were like, oh no, it's just nothing, no worries. I thought in the beginning that she was just mad because your great uncle that had lived in the house had died and then they were taking all his stuff and they were moving everything out and it was like a big change and maybe she wasn't happy about it. But no, she was mad because you didn't knock? That is so weird. So wait, did your great uncle then like never use that room? Like would only go in there to like say hello to Catherine or didn't go in that room at all? Is that what happened? Did he just like, he was just cool with it? I know you said he was totally cool with having the ghost in the house, but I just figured the ghost was in the house, but he was still using the whole house, but he wasn't using her room. That's like, that's so crazy. I think it would 100% happen though. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And thank you so much for sharing this story, even though it was a clown. Hold on, let me show you guys what the pictures look like that they sent, that they said that it was like very similar to this. Okay, so these are the pictures that they sent of what Catherine pretty much looked like, except they said that Catherine had some like blonde curls coming out of the top. But these are so creepy. I don't think these clowns are as creepy as like regular clowns that I would see in the US, like with the red nose and the crazy colored hair and like all the clown makeup. Or maybe they're more creepy. I don't know. I can't really tell. This one is called, Was I Almost Trapped in a Backroom or a Time Loop? Hello from Brazil, Auntie Matrix. Hello. I'm a huge fan of your videos. I have followed and binge watched you since the beginning. Yes, an OG. I love it. In advance, I want to apologize for the English errors. My first language is Portuguese, and when it comes to writing, well, let's say I'm not the best one there is. Haha. Let's get to the story then. Sorry, it is a bit long. This happened a few weeks ago. Me and my company went to a resort in the Brazilian Nordeste. Nordeste? It's a region with beautiful beaches, amazing landscapes, and warm people. Although the state was beautiful, the hotel we stayed in was a bit odd. It was obvious that it had no maintenance for a while, and it was an old hotel, but for me, the weird part was the new building of rooms. Well, my room was in this new building, so I had a lot of time walking around from my room, the last one on the floor, to the rest of the hotel. When I first walked in the hallway to my room, I felt so weird. It was as if I was walking in front of a crowd that was following my steps with judging eyes. I was scared to even look behind me because every time I felt like I was being followed. When my roommate and I got together, this became a joke and we always talked about it as the scary hallway. So the days went by and I got used to walking in the scary hallway. Every time, same feeling, nothing much. One day, it was the fourth day of the trip, I was walking to my room to put my bikini on and then go back to the pool with my friends. When I got to the second floor, I looked at the hallway and it felt more weird than usual. I think it was because of the time. Nobody was entering or leaving rooms. It was very calm and quiet. When I felt this, I thought, you know what? That's the perfect time to take a picture and show it to my husband because, of course, I told him about the scary hallway. I've attached the photo for you guys to see it. Ooh! I think when I did that, I showed that I was uncomfortable, or maybe that I knew that something was different. I don't know. I'm really still trying to figure out what changed that day. Maybe you guys can help me. Anyway, I took the picture and started walking, looking at my phone the whole time, sending the photo and joking with my husband, seeing where I was going to find my friends, texting all the time. But then I realized that none of my messages were being sent. I had no area or Wi-Fi connected to my phone, and I was walking way too long to not be in my room yet. When I took my eyes off the phone, I was still in the beginning of the hallway, the place where I took the picture. I think to myself, maybe I was too distracted with my phone and I never started walking. So I put my phone in my pocket and I went in a straight line to my room. I walked and I walked and I walked, and I can see that I'm moving. The rooms by my side are changing, but I'm not getting any closer to the end of the hallway. Remember, my room was the last one. My goal, it's still there, far away from me. So I start getting scared for real. I look at the rooms by my side and the door is wide open, which is weird because 1, no one leaves a hotel room door open. And number 2, when I first looked at the hallway, there were no open doors. 3, when someone forgets to close the door, the lock starts to beep to tell the person that it's still open, and there was no beep. So I thought, I'm going to close this door. I'm not crazy to continue walking and leave it open. What if something got out of the room to catch me? Yeah, I thought of something to catch me, not someone. When I reached the door, I could take a good look inside. It wasn't like my room. The walls were like a yellow tone and the beds were old, and it looked like an abandoned place, like the scene of a horror movie. And this was the captivity. The air was dense. It had a musty smell, like this room was closed with no circulation for years and years. The feeling was awful. All the cells in my body were screaming to get the hell out of there. So I quickly closed the door, and when I looked, there was no room number on it, which is really weird but proved my theory. This was no ordinary room. So I started running towards my room, and the feeling of something following me was 100 times more intense. I was almost able to feel the breathing in my neck. At some point, I reached my room, got in as quickly as I could, and burst into tears the minute I saw that my room was really my room. It was a mix of relief and the terror of getting out of that situation. I took my phone and saw my messages had been sent, but then I started to receive some messages as well, and there it was, my friends texting me, worried sick because I was missing for an entire hour. So I asked some of my male friends to come to my room and then escort me back to the pool. They said that they walked normally to the room, no problems, nothing weird, besides the hallway vibe, which made me think that if there was something on me, or maybe my attitude of taking the picture that got the attention of the something in the hallway. I told them my story, everything that happened. Some of them believed me, but some thought I was just a prank and I wanted to scare them all. I don't blame the guys who don't believe. It's really something that I've never imagined to happen to me. After that day, I never walked alone in that hallway, but I couldn't stop feeling the things in that hallway with more intensity than before. What do you think happened here, Andy? Thanks for listening and always helping. Okay, let's look at this picture that they had taken of the hallway. This is the picture of the hallway, and it does give off very creepy vibes. For some reason, I was imagining the floor to be carpeted, like a lot of hotels in the US are carpeted. It like literally looks like it just doesn't end, so that their room was all the way at the end down there, but this literally looks like it goes on forever, or like it could give the illusion that it goes on forever. It is not giving me good vibes at all. So normally when there's like a weird time loss like this, or like you think that you're running and you're not actually going anywhere, you're not really moving when you think you're moving, I feel like a lot of stories that I read with that are tied to alien abductions. But in this case, I don't feel like this is an alien abduction case, right? You're like in a literal building. I feel like a lot of those things happen outside, which makes more sense as for an abduction. So I don't know what happened in here. I feel like maybe there was like a portal in this hallway or something that was like messing with the time. And also maybe you were feeling the things that were in the portal on the other side of the portal or something like that. That is like my best guess. This is so crazy, this story. I need to know what everybody thinks. Let me know what you think in the comments. And thank you so much for sharing this crazy story. This one is called Scary Story About an Old Closet. Hello, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I've been your follower for a while and finally got some story to tell as well. Excuse my English is not my main language. I am from Latvia. Oh my God, we have stories from like literally all over. It's so cool. I have a long story. I hope you don't mind. We never mind the long one. We live in an old house and there was this old creepy wardrobe/closet I didn't like since forever. It was right in front of the hallway when you enter our house. So back in like 2009, I had a dream with my grandmother in it. She recently passed away, telling me that I have to throw it out because it got some weird bad energy living inside of it. The closet? You have to throw the whole closet out? And my friends always said that when they enter my house, they feel spooked. I have a bit of spooky vibes in my house because my grandpa used to make all kinds of art from stones to wood, paintings and everything. We even have a witch engraved in the wall at our attic. I like it though. It's cool and unique. Forward to last year. My parents moved to a new place and me and my family stayed here. The first week, I felt like I've been watched all the time, like I'm on a stage or something when I was in the hallway where the closet is located. That closet for some reason started to give me even more weird feelings than it used to. One evening, me, my husband, and my father were talking about it. Dad said that now his father, the artist grandpa, but I didn't know him at all because he passed before I was born, told him in a dream to throw it out or better burn it. My husband kept laughing it off every time. And then that night, my husband had such bad dreams about that closet that it was full of ghosts and other monsters that were coming after him, like it's a portal letting them all out. He was sweating and literally having a nightmare and all that. He woke up the next day and told me that during the next weekend, we are getting rid of it. It was Monday and I was working from home. We kept some old toys and coats in the closet, and one of the toys started to make a sound. It didn't even have new batteries and it has been broken for a really long time. I took that toy outside of the house and it stopped playing. The day came where we were getting rid of the wardrobe. Then things got weirder. Okay, so I'm going to say that this is like a freestanding closet piece because if you can like burn it, you have to be able to take it outside and burn it or something, right? It can't be like a closet in the wall. Our neighbor came to help. I was on the phone with a friend and she wanted to come over later, so I wanted to let my husband know that. I hear him in the garage with my neighbor talking. I thought he was looking for some old tools to break the closet. I casually walk in the garage to tell him the news and he's not there. I literally heard him there going through stuff. He was outside at our neighbor's backyard. Okay, weird. I shrugged it off like whatever. Then I was sending another friend a voice message about that we are finally throwing the closet out and my voice message just stops at 30 seconds and you can only hear static for another minute. I didn't have any Bluetooth devices or anything my phone could connect to. That was creepy. Then I was like, whoa, this thing doesn't like what we're doing. We finally got rid of the closet and burned it. It didn't want to light up either, but eventually it was gone. And then, laughing emoji face, what's funny? Then my grandma shows up in my dad's dream, angry and annoyed, telling him that she has nowhere to live anymore. Later found out that the closet wasn't new. It was thrifted somewhere back in the 1970s. That's a creepy story. I hope you enjoyed it. Sending love from Latvia. Hold on a second. So your grandma was living in that thing? And then she's like, oh man, I can't live there anymore. You burned it. What? That actually makes it a little bit like less scary, but also like a little bit funny that she showed up in the dream and she was like, excuse me, I was living in that closet. Was there anything of hers in the closet that she could be attached to? Was she just attached to that closet for like no reason? Like, why would she be attached to that closet? That's so weird and kind of funny. I'm glad you burned it though and you got it out of the house just in case. That was a good look. Let me know what you guys think in the comments and thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is called, I Don't Know If I Went Back in Time. Hello, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I love all the stories people send you so that you can share with the rest of us. Now, I wanted to share a story of mine that happened last year on my mom's birthday. My mom's birthday is coming up next year, and I remembered something weird that happened to me. Last year, my mom, sister, my brother-in-law, and I went to a lake to celebrate my mom's birthday by making some barbecue on the barbecue pits that they had for visitors on the site. The lake usually has many visitors, but this day it was only us and a group of kids also celebrating some sort of party behind us. Anyways, the day was normal. We were having a few drinks while eating and we even took some beers while getting inside of the water. Since there were no park rangers either, who usually would tell us that we can't be inside the water with beverages. So as the sun was about to set, I don't know if this has anything to do with what happened after, a wave hit me and dropped me to my knees. I tried standing up and I realized that I didn't have the strength to pull myself up on my feet. At first, I laughed about it, but after a minute, it felt like I had weights around my entire body, keeping me down and preventing me from standing up. My mom asked me if I was okay, to which I replied, I can't freaking stand up. They noticed the fear I now had on my face, so my brother-in-law decided to help me. He literally carried me and sat me down next to the barbecue pit. After 15 minutes, I started to be able to walk again, and my mom said that we should pack up and leave, so we did just that. I remember the drive back home because it's a 45-minute drive from the lake to our home, and also, even though we were a bit tipsy, except for mom who was driving, I was conscious and I remember everything. Here is where it gets confusing. We arrive home and I start to feel lightheaded, and obviously I thought it was because of the alcohol. In an instant, I'm having the feeling of passing out, almost like tunnel vision, like when someone stands up really fast. And then boom, it felt like that feeling when you were going to fall in your sleep. I remember taking a deep breath and looking around and holy shit, I am still in the lake. My family is staring at me and asked me multiple times if I was okay because of how I reacted. They see me freaking out and they try to calm me down, and I told them, how the fuck am I still here? We literally just left and went home. After I explained what I remembered, my sister told me that after my brother-in-law had carried me, they all sat down next to the barbecue pit, since also the weather was starting to get cold, and that I put my head down. I asked if I fell asleep and was probably dreaming, and my sister replied with, you haven't even slept. All you did was put your head down for about 10 seconds, and then you jumped all freaked out. I then realized I couldn't have possibly been dreaming. The car home and all were real, because how can an hour of my life that I experienced just be a dream? Especially in 10 seconds that I only put my head down. Anyways, I still can't comprehend what exactly went on that day, and of course when I tell the story, everyone automatically thinks it was just the alcohol messing with my mind. Regardless, I stick with my story because I know I wasn't hallucinating or dreaming. Okay, first of all, we believe you. Second of all, I am immediately drawn to quantum immortality. My immediate thought is maybe you got bit by something in the water that paralyzed you. Maybe it was poisonous or something. That's why you couldn't walk. And then maybe you started to regain movement a little bit, but then you went home and you said you felt you were going to pass out. Maybe you actually died. And then you're thrown into a very close alternate timeline. And in this one, you did not get bit. Wait, but that wouldn't make any sense, because when you woke up back at the lake, you were out of the water. You weren't in the water at that point. Oh my goodness. I don't know. This is very interesting. What a weird story. I need to know what you guys think in the comments. Please let me know what you think. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I made the first half of that video 2 weeks ago, and then life got crazy. So we're finishing it now. I just want to let you know that is why I look different. Different shirt, different hair. Okay, let's go. This one is called Flight Issue Premonition and Validation. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I'm ready to share my story. I stay up into the wee hours of the night watching your TikToks, and I love your show and energy. Thank you. I have always had a connection with the other side, and I have seen things before they happen or was warned something was going to happen. But like many other people with this gift, I don't often share aloud because who will believe you? LOL. We believe you. Here's the most memorable instance that I can think of where I had a premonition come true, but I bothered to mention to someone else ahead of time. I woke up in a panic one night and immediately had a premonition that something was going to happen to a mother of two on a plane shortly after takeoff. It wasn't a dream, more like I woke up abruptly and that was the first thought that was in my head. I was a mother of two at the time and I am not a fan of flying, so naturally I thought this was an omen. Totally freaked out, woke up my husband at 3 a.m. and I told him we needed to cancel our trip that was coming up in a couple of weeks. I had at least 30 reasons why we shouldn't go and we should just cancel. My husband assured me I just had a bad dream and there was no need to cancel, and he went back to sleep. I kept hearing mother of two shortly after takeoff repeatedly over and over like a chant in my head. It haunted me every day up until the trip. On the day of our trip, while riding to the airport, I was still extremely anxious about the flight. I prayed like I have never prayed before just to have a safe flight there and back home. After getting through security and into the terminal, our flight was severely delayed because of an issue. Our gate was still crowded as the flight ahead of us had still not boarded, so we sat in another area to wait for our gate to clear. A few minutes later, a lady came up to us and says, "Did you hear what happened?" I tell her no, and I asked what she was talking about. She said a plane almost crashed or something. They are not giving details, but something happened. We found out after we arrived at our destination that the flight with the issue had a piece break off of the engine and break a window, and a woman was sucked out of the window partially. She was a mother of two traveling on business. This all happened shortly after takeoff. The woman was not traveling to the same place we were. However, the airline grounded all of its flights for a few hours while they sorted out the issue. Hence, why our gate was still full and the last flight hadn't left yet. I don't know why I had this premonition other than being connected in that we had flights for the same day and we were both mothers of two, but I still remember vividly dreading the days up until the trip. This was on Southwest Airlines, which is also the airline that we flew on April 17th, 2018. I've attached a screenshot from our flight confirmation from that date. If you Google the date and the airline, you will see the incident. It was also reported on national news. Here's a link to about what happened. Okay, so here are her receipts. Here is her ticket. That's right there. And this is the story online. Southwest passenger's death was the first in a U.S. passenger airline accident in more than 9 years. The flight made an emergency landing at Philadelphia International Airport after one of its engines failed in an explosion that sent shrapnel into the cabin. 1 passenger died as a result of the accident and 7 received minor injuries. That is crazy. What a crazy story. I wonder why, though, this person had that premonition specifically, because it had nothing to do with them. Because how would they have stopped that? You know what I mean? Like, they had no idea who the person was. That was very interesting. It's crazy. And I think it's interesting that that's how you get your premonitions. Or maybe this was just how you got this specific premonition, but like you literally heard it as you were waking up, like you heard it, thought in your head, repeat in your head. This is super crazy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is called, Am I Haunted? Hello, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I have so many stories, but this has been by far the most terrifying experience of them all. Back in 2008, I was home alone with my brother. It was late, and I had decided it was time for me to lay down and get ready for bed. I went to my room, shut the door, turned off the lights, and laid down. Now, I'd like to explain that it takes a while for me to get comfy, so I started tossing and turning in bed. Each time I would adjust myself, I would open my eyes briefly. I went to turn after a bit and saw a man staring back at me. He was pale and bald with black eyes and a very sinister smile. I screamed and I leapt from my bed and ran from my room. I ran into my brother, who was 6'3" and over 300 pounds, knocking him to the ground. I ran outside and sat on the back porch, terrified. My brother came rushing out asking what had happened, and I kept repeating over and over, "There's a man in my room. There's a man in my room." I hadn't noticed my father had pulled up, and he saw my brother and I out in the back, and I just kept repeating, "There's a man in my room. There's a man in my room." My brother goes in to investigate, and when he comes out, he reassures me that there is no one in my room and tells my worried father what had just happened. Both men are very confused, and my dad is trying to calm me down, telling me, "You're just dreaming. You were probably asleep and didn't think that you were." Fast forward a few weeks, and my brother comes to me telling me I noticed something odd. Since our rooms are so close together, sometimes we can hear even the faintest of whispers in each other's rooms. I could hear him staying up late playing World of Warcraft, and he could hear me talking. I was having full conversations with someone or something while I was asleep, but couldn't quite make out everything that I was saying. It was really getting to him, and he talked to me about getting a digital recorder. The first night after charging and setting up the recorder, I went to bed. We woke up the next morning and checked the recorder. It was dead. So we decided to charge it and see if it had gotten anything. We discovered it had only recorded 5 minutes of audio, and then the battery died. We tried this for 3 more nights with the same results. Every morning we would wake up and recorder had died 5 minutes into recording. Then it was weird because after that I couldn't fall asleep without my TV on, and we never tried the recorder again. I still require some sort of ambient noise to sleep at night. Okay, but what were you saying for the first 5 minutes? Like, was there a conversation for the first 5 minutes? Fast forward 3 years and my brother and father have passed. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. It's just us girls, my mom, my Chihuahua Rosie, and me. One night, just me and Rosie are lying in bed. My mom was working midnights at the time and would typically get home after 4 a.m. Rosie is sleeping next to me as I'm watching some stupid rom-com because I wouldn't watch anything scary that late by myself. Rosie jerks awake and is staring out my door towards my late brother's room, which is just a black open doorway. She started growling and showing her teeth. Her fur was standing on end along with her spine. This was very out of character for my little Rosie, who never acted like this. Rosie's eyes were locked onto something hiding in the darkness. Her head followed something invisible entering my room from the darkness to stand next to my bed. She then jumped on top of me and began to snap at the air like something was attempting to reach out to me. After about the 5th or 6th snap, she stops but proceeds to growl. She then stares again as if she's following the invisible entity, leaving my room back into the darkness. She then slept at the end of my bed closest to the doorway, refusing to snuggle with me. She would always snuggle with me, which I thought was odd. It's almost as if my dog was protecting me. Yes, your dog was protecting you. Fast forward 2 months this time. I'm in my room and it's late at night. I must have dozed off, but I was wide awake all of a sudden. I remember staring out of my bedroom door into my late brother's dark and mostly empty room. For whatever reason, I couldn't look away. A face began to appear in the dark doorway. It floated a few feet from the dark doorway to my room and then disappeared. Less than 30 seconds after the face disappeared, I felt my right foot lift up off the bed. I felt myself being tugged violently out of my bed by my right foot. Oh my God, this is like one of my worst nightmares. I immediately jumped up, breaking whatever's hold on my foot, and ran down the hall for my mother's bedroom. As I ran, I could feel this evil presence surging behind me, breathing down my neck. When I got to my mother's bedroom door, I left one hand on the doorknob and my right hand on the door to shove it open. But as I was trying to open the door, I was shoved so hard into the wall that my shoulder and hand went into the wall next to me so hard that I damaged the drywall. I was able to reach my mom's bedroom to turn on the lights, but she wasn't home. So I ran across the hall into the living room and I sat on the couch with all the lights on, watching my Rosie bark and growl aggressively down the hallway to my bedroom. About 5 minutes later, my mom comes running in the living room. She was home but had been in the basement stocking the wood stove. She had heard all of the commotion upstairs. She asked what happened, but I struggled to explain perfectly what had happened, and I'm still having issues today trying to convey exactly what occurred. Ever since that night, I struggled to sleep in my bedroom, let alone be in there, period. So I started sleeping in the living room until I moved out. I do not blame you. I would have done the same thing. Actually, I think I might have just been sleeping in my mom's bed. I should mention that we were the second family to live in this house. The first was my uncle and his family until they moved to my grandparents' house up the road. So I thought to myself, what could be going on? No one had passed in this house or the animal barn that the house was built upon. My experiences in that house were completely unexplainable and usually chalked up to my imagination or a dream. Maybe I opened myself up or invited something into the house unknowingly. I was the only one in my family that had lived in that house that had these type of experiences. The most anyone else had experienced were shadows walking in front of a bathroom light. Okay, my first thought was that this potentially was something attached to the land itself, because you don't know what happened on that land prior to the house even being built. I don't know why you were the only one to experience it. Maybe you were the only one open to that energy, if that makes sense. I'm not sure, but I do not blame you for sleeping on the couch. I would have been sleeping in my mom's bed. And that is terrifying. What a terrifying story. I have chills. I'm assuming because you didn't mention it that it did not follow you to the new place that you live right now. So that's good. Just make sure that you keep your energy clear, clean, cleansed, your house cleansed, blessed, protected. That was a good one. That was a creepy one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is called Tonya's Imaginary Friend Story. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I love your channel and I love hearing people's real life stories. My name is Tonya. My close family members and friends call me Ton. This is going to be important for later. Okay. My earliest memory is standing in front of a baby gate, pointing at a man at the bottom of the stairs, and his skin melted. He looked like a moving skeleton. My mom told me she remembers I used to always look down the stairs by the baby gate, talking like a baby at nothing. I now know I used to see and speak to spirits like physical people when I was a child. My parents got a mortgage when I was 4 and bought my grandparents' house. They did renovations and extended the house, so we moved in when I was like 5, the year 2000. Before the renovations, I would sleep at my grandparents' house and ask to go play outside, often alone, and I never left the yard. This is when I met Sarah. Sarah told me that she could never leave this yard area and that this was her home. Okay, obviously Sarah is a ghost tied to the land. Sarah wore a white long-sleeve dress and had long, straight hair. I used to ask my grandmother if she had seen Sarah so that we could play together, but my grandmother thought I was talking about her niece, who is 30 years old, named Sarah. Grandma would explain to me that Sarah is home or at work or anywhere but here, which didn't make sense because Sarah couldn't leave. I never questioned it, and I would try to find her on my own. Sarah and I often played hide and seek together. I do have a brother who is 16 months younger than me. He couldn't see Sarah, but I figured he was just being mean because we fought all the time. Being with Sarah made me happy because I couldn't be nice to my brother. I did have real people friends, but they were in the older classes and everyone in my classes were bullying me. I now understand other kids are less fortunate and were jealous or envious that I brought snacks, juice, and boxes, my own lunch boxes, my own money, so I was an easy target for my stuff to get stolen or have it ripped from my hands. That is not an excuse. No one should be bullying you. No one should be bullying anybody. After school, I always asked my mom if I could go to grandma's. I would sew, knit, clean, play Barbies, play tea parties with my friend Sarah, and sometimes grandma. Grandma never told me Sarah didn't exist and just let me have a full-blown, one-sided conversation with Sarah in front of my grandma. Grandma later told me that she believed kids can see beings from the spirit world. Another memory, I remembered that my mom walked in to ask how I was doing, and I told her I was playing with my new friend Sarah, and we were talking about playing Barbies after our tea, which was just orange juice. I saw Sarah lift the tea set, but told me that she couldn't drink the tea and looked sad. I told Sarah I can drink it for her, and she looked happy. I didn't understand what she meant, but I liked how she looked happy. We often played Barbies. I swear this little girl was physically around me. I thought my mom could see her because my mom would open my door and ask me silly questions like, "Are you girls having fun?" The reason I thought she was real was because she would pick things up and move them like she was playing, but when anyone else came around, she would drop it. Like the teacup, she lifted it, but placed it back down when we were alone. The Barbies would move until someone came into my room because Sarah would drop her toy. Sarah would pass me my teddy bears and books so that we could cuddle and read together. My mom would hear me reading and would come into the room to take over and read to us, and I would pass out. Recently, I talked to my mom about this little girl, Sarah, because my mom brought up my imaginary friend, and I felt my eyeballs were going to pop out of my head. I had to ask what she was talking about, and I explained to Mom Sarah was real. She was my friend. She slept beside me for years. She attended birthday parties and everything. I honestly thought she was a person. My mom told me that she didn't want to break my heart by telling me Sarah was not real and acted as if she was there. This reminded me of the time I saw Sarah last. I was 16 and never mentioned it to anyone until my mom mentioned to my imaginary friend. I was straightening my hair and our bathroom mirror had 3 skinny mirrors that folds on the sides, and if they lay flat, it was one big mirror. The mirrors reflected the background at different angles, and I saw that same little girl, Sarah, standing in our laundry room through the mirror. My stomach dropped and I instantly turned around because I was freaked out. I haven't seen anything odd like that for many years. It was like Sarah was thanking me one last time because when I fell asleep that night, I heard Sarah's voice saying, "Thank you, Ton." I found out later through a healer that this little spirit was stuck in the house and she didn't have a childhood, and that when I became a teenager, she was finally at peace because I gave her the childhood that she never had. I often think about her because I didn't know that she was stuck, and I'm happy to know that she's at peace. Thank you for listening. Oh my God, that was that was like a heartwarming one, even though you were chilling with a spirit with a ghost, and that could be construed as scary and creepy. That was a heartwarming one. I love that your grandma knew. I love that your mom just let you have your moment, let you have your friend. My question is, did you notice as you were getting older that Sarah was not aging? Or did her spirit also age with you? The way that her spirit looked, did it also age so that you never actually knew that? I think that's so nice, though, that you gave her a childhood and that you had someone to spend your childhood with. Creepy but sweet. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this, and thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is called I Had a House from Hell. P.S. My wife loves you. Hi, wife. I love you too. So I'll try to make this shorter than the last time I told the story in person 6 months ago, but I remember everything I have seen clear as day. Also, trigger warning is necessary for domestic abuse. So I was 6 years old. I had 3 brothers, one 7 years, R for the name, 2 younger brothers, 2 years, B, and infant, J. My parents and brothers had a good life so far. I have a photographic memory back to when I was 2 years old, so remembering isn't an issue. That is so fascinating to me in general, people with photographic memories. No money problems. My dad was a pro wrestler in Indiana and made good money. That's actually really cool. Life was good until we moved into the house. So me and R shared a bedroom where we had bunk beds, and my parents had my other 2 brothers across from our room, like 3 feet away. Anyway, the first incident was shortly after we moved in. My dad was in the basement and it was dirt floors with a shutter top door like they use in storm cellars, dirt and a door. The door was a simple wooden door. Nobody could open it. My dad tried using a knife, but the blade broke easily. Then he tried a hammer to break through the door. I heard 2 bangs and then he came upstairs with the hammer broken. The head snapped off of the handle, not a dent in the door. What? He tried many things but never budged nor scratched the door. I feel like that thing is like warded with some kind of magic. So 2 months, I believe, after moving in, my brothers were in the dining room playing the PS2 and my mom was cleaning the kitchen. All of a sudden, she yells, "Rick, get some raid, there's roaches everywhere!" We never had a single roach in our house, yet when we went in before being shoved back out of the kitchen, I saw hundreds of roaches crawling on the counters, in the refrigerator, on the stove, on the floor, near the fridge, and on the door trim kitchen side. Oh my God! My mom told me a year ago that she thought it was something in the kitchen. Wrong. Days later, R pulled the carpet up on the wall corner in the dining room and said, "Dad, we got more roaches." And I swear, as long as I can remember, there were, no exaggeration, hundreds to thousands of roaches climbing on top of each other, filling the floor under our carpets. I remember days where there were few and many where we had hundreds in my bedroom, the dining room, and the kitchen, but never the bathroom, other bedroom, or living room, all the way until we moved. Did we call an exterminator? Then my dad got Rocky. He was a very tiny, energetic dog. We had him 2 days. The second day, my brothers and I were in the dining room getting him riled up. He ran from other rooms back to us until he ran into our room. He never came back. What? We went in my room looking. No open windows in the house. We told my mom and she went to the basement. He wasn't there either. We would have seen him if he ran to either door. You had to go through the fairly empty dining room from our room to get to the front or the back door. My dad came back home later on and we didn't get in trouble. Didn't know why back then, but my mom said it freaked her out. She said the dryer liked to buzz on its own as our dining TV turned on a static channel at night. So a month after Rocky, my parents finally let me and R sleep in our room again. They said it was to spray for the roaches. We didn't know better. When we played hide and seek, we found a brand new gaping hole under our bunk bed leading to the basement. Mind you, it wasn't there when Rocky disappeared or after. Fast forward, my cousin D is staying the night sleeping on our floor. R told me that he and D were both hearing each other's names called from the closet, along with disembodied whispers. My mom told me, however, that I was the one that was standing at the door yelling for her. That's something I didn't remember. Maybe she remembered it wrong? Not sure. But both DR and my mom recollected the same story of whispers. I went in the closet once for hide and seek, and it was so cold. I felt like pressure built up on my shoulder in there. Thought someone found me, but no one was behind me. Just me, alone in my room. Forgot to mention that I've seen my dining room TV turning to other channels on its own. We use that TV a lot. So the worst of it could be dismissed as just an incident, but I know it was the house. My parents never argued, much less fought. They played a lot, but I never witnessed them get serious arguing, much less what happened on this night. We were eating gas station chicken and wedges. My mom was talking to my dad, trying to talk about work. She then playfully threw a potato wedge at him, laughing. That set him off. I won't go into exact detail, but he threw her multiple times and even did so against the door trim to the kitchen, so hard it broke her leg. She smacked my brother for trying to call the cops. Fortunately, they showed up due to us yelling, crying, and begging my dad to stop. He never had any anger or aggression. Anyway, they lied about the incident and the cops left. Since then, they have fought from the age of 6 to 11, where we were then temporarily removed from their custody. Oh my goodness. We didn't understand. They never fought, ever. And then all of this happened. My dad lost his job, and it was like we were cursed to suffer. Financial issues all over and fights until we were removed. I am sorry that you had to go through that. That does make sense, though. If there was some sort of demonic or negative presence or energy in the home, it can affect people that way. I don't know if that is what happened, but if they never fought before, that is my best guess. Sorry, that wasn't everything about the house. Okay, there's more details from before. Before we moved, boxes packed up, my dad was playing with B and lifted him up and down. He lifted him toward the closet door in their bedroom, and B screamed bloody murder. There's a shelf up top the closet. B said there was a black shadow man with red dots for eyes holding his hand out. That's why he screamed. After that, we moved the next day. Then when I was 14, I broke into the house to see it inside once more. Most importantly, I came ready to open the door. When I got through the window, the temp dropped at least 30 degrees. Summer outside, basically winter inside. The house felt so heavy, like I felt impending doom every second I was in there. Of course, I broke in at night. Flashlight, lighter, and Jimmy bar. Not a crowbar, but the same purpose, I believe. The house was being renovated. There were several boxes in the kitchen containing tapes. My dad's old tapes. How do I know this? Twister was one of his favorite movies, and there it was, along with recorded wrestling tapes, both recorded from TV, WWE tapes from 1996, and his old wrestling tapes. Rick Ravage, if anyone wants to look him up in a cage match database. Our stuff stayed there for 8 years in the same boxes that we put them in, meaning others moved shortly after or nobody lived there for 8 years. So I got to the basement, still dirt floors. The space where the door was had a thick 3-inch layer of cement covering it. I couldn't even comprehend how to get through it now. I always speculated a body or many bodies could have been in there, haunting us, causing the roaches. We will never know. Somebody lives there now. Renovations finally finished up. That house broke my family. We went from living a pretty steady life to a life where we all had to grow up a lot faster than we planned, all due to the house from hell. Sorry this was a long one, but it's still burned into my memory to this day. Curses tend not to leave people, and I believe it cursed us all. We are all still suffering financially to this day. It's been 21 years since then, so yeah, it's been a hell of a lot of time since that house scarred our lives. Oh my goodness, I did not even think of that behind that door that you could not get into, maybe there were bodies or something really terrible happened there. This is all so crazy. It's so crazy how like the energy of a home can affect people in such ways like that. I'm so sorry that you went through all of this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, but thank you so much for sharing your story with us. This one is called Glitch, Ghost, or Something in Between. Hi, Auntie Matrix. Hi. I recently discovered your page and I have a story of my own to share. Your page has validated my own experience in my own head. My parents purchased me an iPod for Christmas when I was in my teens. I used this iPod literally all day, every day. Music was my escape back then, and it was more important to me than any of my other belongings. I lived at home when they bought it, but a few years later when I moved into my own house, it was still going strong and was still being used daily. One day in 2012, I was listening to my music going around my day as normal with my earphones in. My door knocked, so I took my earphones out and sat the iPod on my TV unit in my bedroom and went to answer the door. It was my friend. We'll call her Sophie. Sophie came in and we spent a couple of hours just chatting and hanging out. She eventually left to go back home and we said our goodbyes. I went into the kitchen and put the kettle on to make myself a cup of tea and went into my bedroom to get my iPod, but to my shock, it wasn't there. I hunted everywhere. I literally turned my bedroom upside down, even searched in other rooms, even though I am 100% knew I had sat it on my TV unit in my bedroom. After hours of searching and frustration and upset starting to kick in, I called my friend Sophie and asked her if she had seen or touched it. She said she hadn't, and when I told her where it was, she said she hadn't even been in my bedroom. She had gone to the toilet at one point, so I was skeptical. I ended up fully believing that she had stolen my iPod and even accused her of stealing it. I was genuinely upset and couldn't think of any other options, and she had asked to borrow it a few times, and I'd said no because I couldn't be without it. The whole thing blew over. Sophie and I remained friends in the few months after, but I didn't really fully believe that she hadn't taken my iPod. 6 months later, I packed up to move house. The iPod never turned up again. It was not in the house. I went through every item I had when packing as I had a major clear out in preparation for the move. I lived alone, and although I had help on moving day, I was the only person to pack up the house. Fast forward 1 year and some months later, I was settled in my new home for a long time now. One night I stood up from the sofa and headed upstairs to go to bed. As I approached the bottom of the stairs, my jaw dropped. My missing iPod was sitting on the third step from the bottom, in the middle of the step, perfectly placed. I was shook. Chills ran through me. I texted my friends, my family, everyone that knew about the whole iPod scenario and told them, and they all thought that I was lying. How could this iPod be in a whole new house? I also have to add that Sophie and I drifted apart, and although we still talked on occasion, she had never been to my new home. I gave her a massive apology, and she was just as baffled as I was. I have no explanation for what happened. I still talk about it to this day with anyone willing to listen, even though this happened in 2013, because it still bothers me that I don't know how this could have possibly happened. I couldn't sleep for weeks. I still have the iPod in a box in my loft. I've never been able to part with it. Thank you for reading. This has been driving me crazy for 12 years now. That is so crazy. I love these stories, and I love them, like, especially in times like this where you legitimately moved to a different home. It was over a year later, and it just showed up sitting on your steps. How crazy is that? I don't know. I guess it like popped into another timeline when you lost it the last time, and now it just popped back now. I would say maybe like house elves or some sort of like mischievous spirit, but that wouldn't make any sense because you moved, unless it was attached to you, the spirit. I'm not really sure, but like, what a crazy story. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thank you so much for sharing your story. This one is called The Sleep Paralysis Demon. Hello, Auntie Matrix. Hi! I'm one of your followers from India. Hello, India. And I absolutely am terrified of your content, but I watch it whenever I need to stay awake at night and study. So you're using my videos to help you be scared awake so you can study. That's really funny. So my story is very weird. It's a story about this sleep paralysis demon. A little bit about me. I'm a doctor in training, and when this episode first happened, I was preparing for my medical school entrance examinations back home in India. Disclaimer, I know what hypnopompic and hypnagogic hallucinations are, and no, I'm not a narcoleptic. Wait, I don't know what those two things are. I feel like I know what one of them are. Hold on, we're going to look them. Okay, they're both just sleep-related hallucinations that occur during different stages of sleep. Got it. So hypnagogic hallucinations happen as you are falling asleep, and hypnopompic hallucinations happen as you're waking up. Okay. In case you didn't know, now you know. So back to the story. I was 17 years old, and like any other 17-year-old, I'd gone to bed around like 2 to 3 a.m. at night. I'm not a horror movie fan. The only thing I've ever seen is The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and that too really scared the living shit out of me. Anyway, I did have a few sleep paralysis episodes before this one, but this one kind of stuck. So I'd gone to sleep, wasn't really tired or anything, but when I closed my eyes, I could actually just picture my entire room, which was very strange because I knew my eyes were closed. Didn't give much into it because I've always had dreams every night, like proper feature films, since I was a kid. Anywho, a few minutes/hours later, I was asleep. I was aware of it. I'd also realized that I was now dreaming lucidly. Everything in my room was exactly where it was, apart from my door being shut. I start to hear this low-pitched growl coming from a distance and inching closer every second. I tried to close my eyes shut. Remember, I'm still asleep, just awake in my SP episode. I closed them as hard as I could, and I tried to wake up. The voice grew louder and louder until it stopped. I was kind of relieved because I thought I'd woken up, but boy, was I wrong. Something very gently grabbed both of my legs, started pulling me down. I wasn't struggling. I was paralyzed. I had my eyes shut the entire time as I was pulled to the edge of the bed, and then it happened. Something clawed its hand into my chest. It was so painful. I could feel it. I was wincing with pain. My eyes were closed the entire time. I know I wouldn't be able to handle looking at the thing that was doing this to me. And then something happened that I can never forget. The thing growled in the most terrifying voice I have ever heard, and it did so in my left ear. I also continued to hear other growls from my right ear, which seemed to be only a few inches from me, but not as close as the left one. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It lasted for what seemed like 10 minutes, and then I woke up. I was exactly in the position I slept in, but the only difference, I now had pain in my chest, exactly where I initially felt the thing bury its claws, and I had palpable goose skin. I was scared. I lay in bed not believing what I just went through. Gathered the courage to pick up my phone, run to my parents' room, and I slept with them for at least 5 to 6 months. Oh my goodness, I do not blame you. I have never, ever, ever been this afraid until recently when I had a very, very similar attack where I got to the thing's face. But that's for another story. Oh! I really hope you share this because one of my friends theorized that it was Cerberus. I didn't believe it at first until I read that he frequents a lot of dreams. And honestly, I don't mind meeting that hell puppy again because I just love dogs. What? You don't mind? It hurt you. But I'd also like to know if anyone else has had similar episodes. Also, my sleep paralysis episodes are crazy. I can have as many as 4 to 5 in a night. Hate myself. Ha ha ha. I have never had any experience like that, but I have read other stories of people experiencing sleep paralysis demons, being held down, being hurt, being physically hurt, scratched, and things like that. So I know there are other people out there. My question is, you said you woke up and you had pain in your chest. Were there any scratches in your chest or was it just the pain? Let me know what you guys think. Let this person know if you have had a similar experience. And thank you so much for sharing this creepy story. Okay, that was technically the last story, but we have a little bonus that I wanted to show you guys. There's no real story with it, but it's a video that someone sent, and I think it's pretty cool. The title of it is My Baby and a Good Spirit, and it just says, so my son was about 2 months old when this started to happen. I would put him in his bouncer, and something would just start bouncing it. He was always asleep and was never moving. This happened a few times, but not all the time. I'll attach the video. Ignore my compression socks. Ha 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 ha. We don't care about your compression socks. No worries. So this is the video they sent and I watched it. I thought it was pretty crazy that the thing is shaking and it's shaking more and more. First I was like, okay, maybe the person like hit it, right? And then it was shaking from that and they took a video. But if that were the case, it wouldn't start off slow. Like it would have started off bigger and gotten slower. But it seems like it starts off like bouncing slowly and then gets larger. The bounces get larger. So it feels like someone is definitely rocking this thing. Hold on, I'm going to play it again. I'm playing it again. So it feels like someone is definitely rocking this thing. And it's not that baby. That baby is dead asleep and it's tiny. I don't even know if that baby can move that thing. So some nice little spirit in the house was just rocking your baby and keeping him asleep. It's so cute. That concludes our creepy compilation for today. If you enjoyed this video and you want to hear more stories, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check out the links in the description and come join our glitch community in Discord. If you want to just keep it going right now though, you can check out this video or this playlist.